But we got to put together the package so that the people understand it, and now they done seen enough to where they know, hey, this ain't no science fiction. This is right here is real. So therefore, we have to put all of this stuff together. We have to research it. We have to analyze it, right? We have to review all of these things like they had in crisis management. That after you did all, first you ought to have a before you even had a problem. You already have something together written that anything happen like that, here's what we're going to do. It may not be perfect because it might be a couple of things that you didn't think of, but the basics are all the same. Quarantine's been happening for centuries, right? Okay, so we're automatically going to do a quarantine. Maybe a long one, maybe a short one, but that's automatic. We have to mobilize the hospitals. We have to mobilize the medical people. We have to have so much medical stuff already sitting in warehouses. Why? Because you won't have time to produce it. The quicker you get on the problem, right? That's like Don. Don threw away a month at least. A month in a crisis, it's like, that's the best part. You're giving away that, right? So all he can do is come back now and blame everybody else. But there's a point to this. If this thing is created, then the people planned it a long time ahead of time. Therefore, they had some dummy like Don in place, right? We ain't come to that conclusion yet. We're just saying this is just speculative discourse. Because we can't come to no conclusion. If you're doing research, you can't fold up all the books and say, well, that's it. You got to do the real research. And you may have to research it and do 2 or 3 alternatives, you know. Why? Because if it's this, then, and these are the things that influence that, right? And you put all together and it looks like that. But on the other hand, it looks like this too. You may have to have 3 possible scenarios. But one thing about it, you have to have an overall point of what do we do as a people. If these things are true, what do we do? That's where we're headed. That's why I called Sakina to ask her, do you remember the guy that called me on the phone on my birthday? Starbucks. She said, yeah, you could hear her, right? Okay. The last time I saw this person, and I didn't know him that well, I met him in Cubenhout in Copenhagen in 1971. He's the guy with the super long natural that the white people would walk, they'd be walking down the street, they'd look at his hair, and then guess what they would do? They'd pull it because they didn't believe it. Ain't no hair. They know their hair. Hair can't, you know, now imagine 1971. Rebellion's about over, but that style that went from a little old natural to like, you know, now it's the style. This Negro had a perfect natural. Wow. And the white folks knew their hair can't do that. I don't believe, they didn't believe it. They just didn't believe it. I don't believe no hair. I wanted to tell him, I said, lady, a nigga can stick his head out of a window going 100 miles an hour in a car and his hair won't move. I mean, it'll just go like this a little. But they hair be flopping, you know what I mean? So You can see a white girl running down the road, a ponytail is popping up in the back all the time. You ever see them? They have a ponytail and all of it. You don't see no niggas with no hair like they can have a ponytail or they'll make no, that hair is gonna stay wherever they tie it up, right, that's where it's gonna stay. It ain't gonna, but anyway, this person called me, we was in Starbucks. We went down to Germany. Now look at Copenhagen. Copenhagen, there's huge American troops down here in Germany. Up in Denmark, there's nice white people. It ain't like now. In those days, the white girls loved blacks. Denmark, Sweden, all of, I don't know what it was, the Nordic, they just was googly-eyed about the Negroes. And they knew what they were here. They had phobia, not phobias, they had, hey man, I was sitting at one of the joints in Copenhagen by the train station, and they had Bessie Smith on. Niggas didn't listen to Bessie Smith in those days. Bessie Smith was back in the 20s, man, in the 30s. They had a record called Baby Doll. Of course, the white girl, blonde hair, her nickname was Baby Doll. And the white girl sitting in the seat had a little, it looked like a monkey doll or something. Listen to the Baby Doll, and she just stroked it. I said, boy, these people, I said, I'm not going to try to unravel all of this. But that's the scene. In every book on black people, the niggas in the army didn't know nothing about black people. But them white girls, all in question, they had all the books. You go in their house, they had every book on black people, every book. I mean, and so, now, what do you think the army is gonna do? If they got they niggas down in Germany, that on the weekend, they go up to Denmark and Sweden, and a big number of them stay there. And then the Vietnam War is going on. You remember the countries that let them, Americans, you could run to Canada, but you could go to Sweden too. Denmark wouldn't send you back. I went to a fundraiser. Angela Davis's sister came over to Denmark, and we went to hear that she let her raise funds in Denmark. Anyway, I'll get to the point. I hadn't seen this man since 1971. I'm at Starbucks, and you know where I put the phone on loud, so, hey, this is such and such. I said, who is such and such? Man, don't you remember we was at the train station? I said, you talking about the train station in Hamburg, Germany in 1971? Yes, we just came. His parents was in the army. One was in the army, one was in the Air Force. They lived on a military base, Cape Town, Kaiserslautern. So I just came from Africa, you know, and I came to Denmark. Because if we all knew Denmark was nice, they wouldn't send you home. A lot of things happened in Denmark. One of the things, when I left Africa, I took what I call a tanzanite. It was marijuana. I stopped smoking weed in East Africa. It just, I don't know what it was. It was the environment. The environment was beautiful though. And the Negroes, man, that white sand and the palm trees and African women walking with stuff on their head and singing, it would, some of the Negroes, they was basically in heaven. It was nice though, for the sun to be going down and the hear the African women, you know the sound that it, hey man, it just makes you want to, technically, water come up in your eyes. It was really something. But for me, I didn't want to get high, I just liked it. And I had some marijuana. That old day, they didn't search you going on. So I called it Tanzanite, from, you know, like kryptonite, Tanzanite, from Tanzania. So when I got to Denmark, I was giving it away to friends, to people. Then I said, well, let me go and hit a little joint. We was riding down the canal, and we was, Isaac Hayes jumped on the box, and I said, yeah, this is all right. You know what I realized? I didn't like to get high in Africa because of the environment. But when I was in Europe, I loved it. Why? Because it was like here. And we rolled down the street high. You know what I mean? And that was out of place in Africa. So I used the word. I said, boy, niggas is Europeanized. You know, Americanized. I gave all of, then I had said, I'm going to save the rest of this and smoke it myself, so they're giving it away. But anyway, the man called me. You just heard I called my daughter. Do you remember? Yeah, I remember the guy. The man called me and said, hey, don't you remember such and such? And I was talking loud. I wasn't paying no attention. And so they said, Dad, kind of take it easy. Everybody is listening. So I looked around. I went outside. What was he doing calling me? I haven't seen him since 1971. Where would he get my number from anyway? Not the mistakes he made. Hey man, we used to call you Leroy. They didn't call me Leroy. The name on my passport, my brother's name is technically Leroy, but they had Roy rings on the passport. So he mentioned, yeah, we used to call you Leroy. Nobody ever called me no Leroy in Africa or nowhere else. Anyway, so why is he calling me? What is that? 71. It's not 50 years ago, is it? Almost 50 years ago. Wait a minute. It is. 71 and 2001, it'll be 2021, it'll be 50 years. How is somebody calling me 50 years later, haven't seen me, and all the stuff they're giving me is jumbled up, mixed up, which the government would present to him?
To wish you a happy birthday.
He didn't say happy birthday, but he couldn't say that, see, because my brother's birthday was on my passport. But it was all, don't you remember when we was in, what did you say? Antwerp, what's Antwerp? Netherlands. What's the big city in the Netherlands? In the Netherlands. I'll think of it. It's a big harbor city there.
Amsterdam? Is that Netherlands?
Amsterdam.
Okay, that's
yeah. Where they get,
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, Amsterdam. That's where they, Amsterdam is where everybody, see, weed and hashish have been legal over there for a long time. When you come into the club at Copenhagen, you get a bowl. A bowl was a real bowl, and they put a cellophane, not cellophane, but tinfoil on the bowl and punch little holes in this side and punch little holes on the other side. This side, You suck, on the other side they put hashish and you just get a bowl. Not a pipe, you know. They just said, hey, you got a bowl? Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I went to Amsterdam. He didn't go with me to Amsterdam. The last time I saw him was in, what did I just say, in Germany? No, that's Copenhagen is up here, Germany, Hamburg, Germany. Hamburg, Germany. Anyway, the point is this. Can anybody pull up Newsweek magazines?
I can try.
Try Newsweek. It's several, either January 1972, February, or March 1972. Newsweek magazine. Anyway, here's the point. You know, today is the 19th of, anybody know what today is? Today is the same day that they killed all the people in Waco. And also the same day of the Murrah building. Remember the Murrah building in Oklahoma? This is that day. Okay, the Murrah building in Oklahoma was because of the time before in Waco. You got to remember, Waco was clearly a murder. Did anybody remember seeing those tank-like vehicles going up to the building and you see them pumping fumes? You can see the fumes. And after they got it full, I remember that lying woman, Janet Rito, the old ugly woman, talking about there was no pyrotechnic device, you know, firecracker, to set it off. Look at what happened. The place burned up almost instantaneous because it was full of fumes. They pumped in there and they killed a lot of kids. The next year, when they bombed the Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma, the target was a lot of children, the daycare, the nursery. So I called the FBI because they had arrested a Jordanian. So I went right up, this is over on A Street. I gave khutbah, then I said, hey, I called the FBI. The tip line, you know what they said? We don't want to talk to you. I said, what do you mean? You got a tip line. They knew it was me. You know, the caller ID stuff, they had it then. We didn't have it, but they had it. I said, I got a tip for you. No, we don't want it. I said, what are you talking about? You don't want a tip. And you got it. I'm calling the tip. You the tip line? Well, okay, then cut me off. But before you do, it wasn't no Arabs and it wasn't nobody that did Oklahoma. It was white folks. So it's white folks. That was either before Juma, after I gave up Juma and gave that same khutbah. It's probably on tape somewhere.
I remember it.
Yeah.
I was there.
And I went downstairs and they said it was, we'd have now arrested I said, the guy got enough sense to blow up the federal building and drive down the street with no license plate on his. This is insanity. You know what I mean? It's like, let's call it a setup. It's arranged, right? It's arranged. But here's the thing that the government was relying on. They was relying on the habits of the people. The other thing, does anybody remember World Trade Center 1993? We went on Kojo Nambi. Do you remember that program, me and Muhammad Al-Asi and the bookstore, Hadari? We went on there And I told them specifically, I said, no, I said, this is a setup. What they're doing is, this is a trial run. It's a trial run, and if we don't react properly, they're going to put out laws, they're going to give probable cause, they're going to do this, that, and another. That's what this 93, that's what it was. Since nobody said nothing, right? They popped up, and then 8 years later, we got stuff going on, and they get all the laws they want. All the laws they want. They get the laws they want from the first bombing, the World Trade Center. All the Patriot Act was already out or hot on the presses. Right? Because we got the world, Death Penalty Act and other, that's 1996 when we got it all put together. Anyway, I'm getting to the point. We delay on these cases because this is too important to rush to judgment. And all the time we have to figure out, what part do we play in this? This is the thing, and why would we play a part? If we had a Merrill Federal Building, I just got a feeling that we were always right, I'm telling you. And I have to go over things to remember how many times we've been right about everything and what they would think about this. And when did they start this anyway? If they've been matching me up since 1971 or earlier, then, you know, I told my friend last year, I said, do you remember when we was in Mexico City and we had just brought our first shipment of blow? I called him and told him to go by somebody's house and pick up a package of money. He got the money, then he came down to Colombia with me. And we walked and talked for a month. And because at that time, I had the game for that. I was the technical godfather from Oakland. So I'm giving him all the game. He didn't mess around with it, but I'm giving him the game on what to do, how to do it, and all of that.